Hello, everybody, and welcome to Jack's Corner. I'm Tarzan Bonanno, and with me, as always, is our founder, Jack Figgle. How you doing today, Jack?
Good, Tarzan. Christ is risen.
Indeed, he is risen.
Christos vostres.
And whatever the
And Christos anesti. Alithos anesti. You got to get English, Slavonic, and Greek in there.
somehow we'll work on it.
All right. I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing very well. New space to record. I'm looking forward to all the stuff to come now.
Okay.
So, what's new with you, and what's going on?
All right. Well, first of all, we're re-announcing the upcoming Oriental Lumen Conference number 28 in June, in just 6 weeks or so from now. And then I'm going to talk about the audience we had with His All Holiness Patriarch Bartholomew in 2014 with the Light of the East Pilgrimage number 1. So that's going to be the bulk of today's stories. But first, I'd like to sort of announce to everyone that's on our podcast here the upcoming Oriental Lumen Conference. The title or the theme is going to be Primacy in the 21st Century, and it will be held here in Washington, D.C. at the Washington Retreat Center on June 17th to 20th of 2020. It's co-sponsored by our Oriental Lumen Foundation, but also co-sponsored by the Washington Theological Consortium, which is a group of theological schools that do ecumenical work together as a group here in the Washington metropolitan area. One or two are Catholic, but most are Protestant of various flavors. And I'm also pleased to announce, as of July 1st of this year, the Oriental Lumen Foundation is going to become an associate member of the Washington Theological Consortium. The Board of Trustees elected and approved our request to become a full-fledged participant as of July 1st of this year. So it's kind of a big deal. It's the first time we're going to have an ecumenical foundation of this sort as a member of the consortium. And of course, it's the first kind of ecumenical group that the foundation is going to belong to. So it's a win-win arrangement all the way around.
Congratulations all the way around as well.
Thank you. The other co-sponsor is a new organization called the Huffington Ecumenical Institute at Holy Cross Seminary, the Greek Orthodox Seminary in Boston, Massachusetts. And a good friend of mine who received the Ecumenism Award and delivered the Figel Lecture at the Washington Theological Consortium in 2023 is Archdeacon John Chrysavas, who's an Archdeacon of the Ecumenical Throne and is Patriarch Bartholomew's closest advisor when it comes to environmental issues, and has authored and edited several books by the Ecumenical Patriarch on the environment and other spirituality and theological issues. I have several books by His All Holiness, a few of which are signed by the Patriarch himself. But when Deacon John was here last spring, I also got him to sign some of the books that he edited. So I have some signature editions on my bookshelf by Deacon John. But anyway, last summer, the Huffington family and the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese jointly donated to set up this ecumenical institute. And Archdeacon John is its first executive director. So he and I are hoping to collaborate even more and more, going forward between the foundation and his institute. And so this conference and the Oriental Lumen Foundation is really branching out in both directions, both with closer ties with a Christian ecumenical group, the Consortium, and an Orthodox ecumenical group, the Huffington Institute. So
Both
we're going
apostolic and non-apostolic type Christians.
That's right. So we're reaching out in multiple directions to bring the spirit of Oriental Lumen, namely grassroots, face-to-face ecumenical friendship, to these other organizations, and asking them to join us in that journey. So they've agreed to co-sponsor. The consortium has been co-sponsoring and helping us for a number of years, ever since the Byzantine Catholic Seminary in Pittsburgh became a satellite member of the consortium 4 years ago. And that means that students at the seminary who are remote satellite online students and students at the consortium can take courses at each other's institution that are online.
That's cool.
The consortium courses are available to any of our MAT students at the seminary. The MDiv program is very, very specific, designed by the faculty and the bishop for priestly formation. And as of yet, there are not any electives for seminarians to be able to take courses. But I'm hoping that someday in the future, the bishops will allow them to take some of the consortium courses for credit towards their MDiv degree. But then there's also the consortium students that are going to be exposed to Eastern Christianity through the Byzantine Seminary in Pittsburgh, because the consortium has no other Eastern-oriented institution except for now Oriental Lumen Foundation as of July 1st. But we don't have educational courses the way the seminary does.
I mean, I think, the lectures from Callistos, Taft, and all that we have in our backlog are very educational, regardless of the form of education it is. But no, this sounds like a very good and healthy ecumenical move that will help grow everybody closer to God and in, what's the word? Exposure.
Yep. Closer to God and closer to each other.
Yes.
Metropolitan Callistos sometimes uses the analogy of a wagon wheel with all of its spokes. And he says that the ecumenical movement is like we're all on the edge of the wheel, moving along the spoke towards the hub, namely moving closer and closer to Christ. And as you do that, we all get closer and closer to each other.
Yeah. And I mean, I can point out in my own life, right, I'm Latin Rite Catholic, you're Eastern Rite, and we work together. But then on the other side, I'm working with other non-Catholic Christians and etc. So it's a very important move, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah. So back to the Oriental Lumen Conference, again, will be June 17th to 20th. And what we're announcing yesterday and today is that we will now offer a virtual option for those who want to sign up to see the conference live streamed. And we're also discounting the fee for the in-person conference and the overnight accommodations. So it'll be a lot less expensive than what was originally announced a month ago. I've gotten some feedback from some people that it was just too expensive for their budgets. So we found some donors to subsidize the expense of the conference. And so we're offering now the registration for in-person and for virtual are going to be the same. $150 for the 3 days of 6 plenary sessions, which is about 12 hours worth of lecture and panel discussion. And the overnight accommodations are down. I've been cut in half to just $75 per night per person, which is a lot cheaper than any hotel room in the DC area. So I'm hoping that that's going to encourage many more people to sign up. We've got a great lineup of speakers. The title, the theme, as I said, is Primacy in the 21st Century. And what we've asked the speakers to do is to reflect on three agreed statements that have come from the International Orthodox Catholic Theological Dialogue, in which they have been discussing primacy and synodality. And synodality is now a big topic within the Catholic Church. And of course, the Orthodox have been functioning under the notion of synodality their entire lives. And so I'm hoping that the Roman Catholics will take a look at the Orthodox and see some good examples of how synodality works. But the three agreed statements over the last, 17 years, started in a town in Italy called Ravenna, sort of central Italy, where the International Dialogue met in 2007 and issued an agreed statement titled, are you ready for this nice long phrase, nice long word?
Absolutely. Give it to me.
Okay. Ecclesiological and canonical consequences of the sacramental nature of the Church, ecclesial communion, conciliarity, and authority.
Nice.
That was their first attempt at discussing primacy, and the significant agreement that came out of that document was that there were three levels of primacy existed in the Church of Jesus Christ: a universal, a regional, and a local. Now, that's all they got to in that statement, was that there were three levels, and that was a major breakthrough, I think, because until then, the Roman Catholics ignored the regional level, namely having any authority at a patriarchal or a regional level that was above the diocese. Namely, you went right from the diocesan bishop right up to the Holy See. And that the Orthodox agreed for the first time that there was a universal primacy. Namely, there was a single primate in the church for the whole universal church. They also agreed in principle that that primate could only be the Bishop of Rome, which was a major breakthrough. 100 years ago, the Orthodox wouldn't even admit that that level of primacy even should exist. But here they exist, they agreed to it. But of course, they left, the details to a later date and simply agreed with the principle that there should be a universal primate and it could only be the Bishop of Rome. But how that primacy actually functioned was left for another day. Well, another day came 9 years later in a town called Chieti, another city in Italy. And that agreed statement in 2016 reads as follows. Ready?
I'm ready.
Synodality and primacy during the first millennium towards a common understanding in service to the unity of the church. And namely, they spent a lot of effort, 9 years, of agreeing on the history of the first millennium and how universal primacy was practiced in the United Church before the Schism of 1054. And another breakthrough that they all agreed of how the Pope exercised primacy in relationship to the East, and how the East recognized the Pope as the primate for the universal church for that millennium. So again, a major breakthrough, not quite to the conclusion, but certainly another major step along the way for the Chieti agreed statement in 2016. And then the third agreed statement came out last year in June, just as we were having the Oriental Lumen Conference last year. And it was held in Alexandria, Egypt. And that was a little bit of a shorter title that's easier to understand.
Well, they just wanted to be the odd ones out. That's what they wanted.
Yeah, something like that. Or they wanted to make it much more clear as to what they were agreeing to. And that was simply titled Synodality and Primacy in the Second Millennium and Today.
Yeah, a lot less of a mouthful.
And that statement actually followed on the first two and came to an agreement about, number one, what that primacy has been like in the second millennium, both positives and negatives. And that document talks about how the primacy of the Pope perhaps has been overextended during the second millennium, and how synodality has become too prevalent in the Eastern churches in that they have no primate.
Yeah.
And so both sides have now agreed what history was in the second millennium without criticizing it, but simply saying, we want to improve on that. And so they speculate about, and again, in that agreed statement, what primacy and synodality is today and what it should be going forward.
All right.
So another breakthrough. And of course, for many, many years, everyone has said this is the major stumbling block for full communion. And so I think these three statements have come a long way in reaching an agreement. And so our conference is going to focus on those and bring them to light to more people. And I'm guessing many people, as I call them, the person in the pew and the diocesan priest in the parish, perhaps aren't even aware of these three documents, and certainly don't have a clear understanding of what they say, what they mean, and the implications for them.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of these conferences. That's why they're there, right?
Absolutely. So I gathered what I think is an excellent group of speakers. Two of them are going to join us by remote video because they reside in Europe, and therefore it's difficult for them to get away and travel this far. Top of the list, actually, is Metropolitan Job of Pisidian, who is the Orthodox co-chair of the International Dialogue.
Yeah.
He's agreed to join us by video conference from his diocese in the south of Turkey. And he's been a speaker in the past. And so we're looking very much forward to his participation in this. And of course, as the Orthodox co-chair of the dialogue, he was instrumental in the writing of these documents that have come out. So he's going to say a few words. We have our Catholic co-patron of the Oriental Lumen Conferences and Society of St. John Chrysostom, Bishop John Michael Botin of Canton, Ohio, the Romanian bishop for North America. He'll be coming in person to be a speaker. By video conference, we have Monsignor Paul McPartland, Roman Catholic member of the International Dialogue. Again, I think he was instrumental in the drafting of much of the material in these three documents, and he's now Professor Emeritus from Catholic University of America here in Washington. He's a good friend. He and I have been working together closely over the last 25 years. Well, he's been professor at CUA, and in fact, his doctoral thesis was published as a book, and then the publisher in England did not want to do a reprint, and so I agreed to do the reprint, and so I've now published his book called The Eucharist Makes the Church, and it's all about Eucharistic ecclesiology. So he's going to join us from his new home where he's retired in the north of England. Then we have a leader and participant also in the dialogue, Father Hyacinthe Destavel, who is from the staff of the Dicastery for Promoting Christian Unity. So he'll be coming all the way from the Vatican in Rome to be in person. He'll be with us for the whole week. He's a Dominican priest from France, has been here before as a speaker, and always has a very interesting insight into the ecumenical movement, especially, I believe he was probably at all three of these meetings, participating in the discussion. So Cardinal Koch has graciously given his blessing for Father Isak to come from the Vatican and be one of our plenary speakers. So it's going to be a chance for everyone who comes in person to meet, a Vatican official dealing with ecumenical dialogue. So
sounds like something you can't miss.
No, that's right. And you wouldn't have the opportunity otherwise to meet someone like that in person. And likewise, on sort of the other end of the spectrum, we have Father Radu Bordanio, who is the director of graduate studies at Duquesne University in Pittsburgh. He's Romanian Orthodox. He's a member of the North American Catholic Orthodox Dialogue, and again has a very different perspective, being Romanian Orthodox. But he's a university faculty member, runs the Duquesne University Graduate Studies programs, and has graciously agreed to come from Pittsburgh down, and this will be the first time for him as a speaker with Oriental Lumen. So I'm looking forward to meeting him. We've only exchanged emails, so it'll be the first time I'll have the chance to actually meet him in person. And then the last formal speaker is Father Philip Alakias, who is a Greek Orthodox priest in Manchester, New Hampshire. I published his doctoral thesis on ecumenical marriage between a Roman Catholic and a Greek Orthodox a couple of years ago. He's now become a member of the World Council of Churches and is editor of their publication for the Week of Prayer for Unity, and participates in the North American Dialogue. So he also will be coming down in person from Boston to be with us. So we're going to have a real strong set of speakers here that people can meet. And then the moderator for the first time will be the ecumenical officer for the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese, Father Nicholas Kazarian. And I've invited him to be the moderator for the week, and he's accepted. So it's going to be exciting to see him come and participate in person. I thought of him and invited him, not as a thank you, but sort of just recognition. He's the one who nominated me to the National Council of Churches to receive the Ecumenism Award that they gave me last year for my leadership in ecumenical dialogue. So he is a Greek Orthodox, nominated a Greek Catholic to get an award from a mostly Protestant organization. So it was ecumenical all the way around.
Yeah, I don't think there's a better way to get that kind of award than by obviously somebody who's not part of your church. If they are the one nominating you, that says something. And I think this is absolutely amazing and something that anybody listening should very heavily consider going in person. And if you can't, you 100% have to get the online. If you're listening and you don't think that's what you should be doing, you need to ask God why your heart's in the wrong place. I'm joking.
So I'm very excited about the conference. It's going to be, everyone, every year, number of people that have been to many of them always say to me, Jack, this is so great. How can you make it better? And somehow the Holy Spirit helps a great deal and puts the right speakers into my mind to invite. And they say yes. And we end up with yet another excellent program of speakers and a topic that's very, very current and relevant. So it's going to be an exciting conference. So yes, I hope everyone listening to this can come. It's Monday afternoon or Monday evening through Thursday lunch. Meals are provided. Overnight accommodations are available. We essentially take over the retreat center. We have prayer services. We have social gatherings. You get to break bread and have meals with church leaders that I've just mentioned and meet them in person. And there's no other event anywhere that's like this. So, yeah, everyone who hears this should come or certainly sign on to the virtual option and pass the word to their friends that this is going to happen in just 6 or 7 weeks.
Share it on your Facebooks. Share it on your Facebooks,
Yep.
your Instagrams, your Twitters. I guess it's called X now, but all of them. You have to be sharing it. You should be watching. You should be paying attention because this is important. Because Jesus prayed that we all be one. And
That's
this
right.
is the best way to do it is the ecumenical movement, especially with these Orientale Lumen conferences. And I could say so because I've been dealing with the cassettes for the last 2-3 months now.
If I could add an editorial comment, this is the kind of stuff we should be thinking about and spending time on rather than the political discourse that seems to be taking us down many rabbit holes that aren't going to get anywhere towards our goal of theosis, which is becoming more like God and finding our way to eternal salvation with Christ. And so
Jack, I've been
working at this and not listening to the news.
Jack, I've been reading the Bible and studying the things of Christ for as long as I've been a Christian. And I'll tell you right now, the only thing I trust the government to do is do exactly what the Bible said they will eventually do. The world is doing exactly what the Bible said it would do. And so the best thing for you to do is to work within the church ecumenically and outside of the church, not without it, but outside of the church for the glory of God. Yeah. Because everything else is just going to send you into a anxiety-ridden spiral.
Right. Many people ask me, what do I think about what's going on? And I just say, well, I don't ignore it, but I don't worry about it. Because
it's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah. And, as I think I mentioned on a previous podcast, if not, I'll make it now, that there was a movie called Bridge of Spies in which Tom Hanks plays a lawyer that negotiates the release of Francis Gary Powers from the Soviet Union when he was shot down by exchanging him for a Russian spy that was caught in the U.S. And just as they're about to make the exchange and the Russian spy is going to go across the river, Tom Hanks, the lawyer who negotiated his release, asked him, well, what's going to happen to you when you get on the other side and you go back to the Russians? And he said, well, if I'm shown into the back seat, that's not good. If I'm embraced, then that means good. And he said, well, are you worried? And the guy says, would it matter? And so I listened to the news. There's nothing I can do about it except vote come November. And otherwise, I try to not let it bother me. And I just keep doing what I'm doing. And I'm hoping other folks are going to join me and come to this Washington event and experience the ecumenical friendships that Metropolitan Callistos of blessed memory talks about all the time, and that in particular talks about how he made many, many, many ecumenical friendships by coming to our Oriental Lumen conferences.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's go back to our main theme, and I'll briefly discuss another one of our audiences.
Hold on, Jack.
Yes.
We've already reached over time. We might have to wait till next week to start on the trip that you wanted to talk about. I think this was a great episode. So I'm sorry about that, Jack, but I'm looking forward to hearing about it next week.
Okay. All right, Tarzan. I will. I'll accept that. I did go on and on a lot more than I thought I would, but you can see I get excited about the Oriental Lumen meetings, and what they mean. So I will stop, and we will pick up next time with our Light of the East #1 pilgrimage to meet His All Holiness Ecumenical Patriarch back in 2014. And we will do that on our next episode next week.
Absolutely. So everybody, thank you for coming to this episode. Next week, we're back to our regularly scheduled program. So thank you and God bless. The link for the Orientale Lumen Conference is in the description, so don't forget to check that out. Come in person if you can, go see online if you can't, but be a part of it. So thank you and God bless.